Yeah. You know, ever since I turned pro in 1989, when I signed the dotted line, it was strange how things changed for the better and for the worse. So I called my mama and she said, baby, I see the money. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see the money. It's got to be because I got people who are my friends, people I never knew, people I never thought about associating. I don't know what it is. Talk to me. Check it out. Now in real life, with glitters on my face, I got some pepper every day upon me. My hair is done, my fingernails too. This cutting down and I don't know what to do. Stay the money, turning down on my state of money. You know I can't go wrong, my state of money. They looking cars, stay the money. I've been rolling in the store. Fought for civil rights.
What do you mean
They
by
have
fought?
begged for civil rights. They have begged the white man for civil rights. They have begged the white man for freedom. And anytime you beg another man to set you free, you'll never be free. Freedom is something that you have to do for yourselves. And until the American Negro lets the white man know that we are really, really ready and willing to pay the price that is necessary for freedom, our people will always be walking around here second-class citizens, or what you call 20th century slaves. What
price are you talking about, sir?
the price of freedom is death. If white immigrants can come to this country 50 years ago with nickels and dimes and no education, and come here and pool their little nickels and dimes and no education, and set up little stores, develop these stores into larger stores, develop this into an industry which creates job opportunities for whites. Since Lincoln was supposed to have freed the black man 100 years ago, and today the black man, according to the government economist, has spending power of $20 billion per year. We feel that with the black man spending $20 billion a year, not setting up any businesses, not creating any industry, not creating any job opportunities for his own kind, he's not in a moral position to point the finger today at the white man and tell the white man that he's discriminating against him for not giving him a job in factories that he himself set up. If the black man has $20 billion, and these so-called Negro leaders are such geniuses that they can integrate white restaurants and integrate white factories and force themselves into that which the white man has set up, they should use this same ingenuity to show the black people how to pool our wealth and set up something of our own. And then we won't have to force our way into his anymore. One more thing I would like to point out concerning what he said about 125th Street. We don't waste our time on 125th Street, but you can reach more people in the street who want to change than you can in the bourgeoisie society, the bourgeoisie church, and the bourgeoisie circles. Our program is directed toward the man in the street. So we spend our time in the street, and what we do with that man, instead of trying to change the white man in your mind and make you accept us, we change the mind of the black man and make him accept himself. And as soon as he accepts himself, he'll solve his own problem. He won't be trying to force himself into your factory and into your bedroom and into your kitchen.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another live broadcast on the forecast. Yo, what's going on, Keyshawn? Yo, I appreciate all of y'all for listening or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I just had to come on here and holler at y'all. I don't plan on being on here long, but like I said, man, I'm still trying to do what's going on, my brother Rashid. I'm still trying to do what I can do to, what I'm saying, raise money to help, what I'm saying, these people get their at least one person get, you know, livable water conditions, you know what I'm saying, just to get one septic tank to help these people out, you know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, yo, what's going on, Micah? At the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, when we talk about what we have to do and all of that stuff, like for real, like I don't want to hear none of that because like yo, we don't want the freedom that comes with that responsibility. We can talk all day long about the solutions and what we got to do, but the first thing that we have to do is take any kind of action at all. You know what I'm saying? Take one step in the right direction. It's not like rocket science. And really like yo, like it just shows me like how we just only stuck on ideology and all of that stuff. Like we don't have time to like play around, like like I said, shout out to my homegirl, passed away like a few months ago. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't have time to play around in the system and like yo, the way that it's set up and all of that. Like yeah, it's designed to create a society, a space to develop mental illness within our community, and we don't do anything to cure it, and nobody else is going to come to our defense but us. In fact, people are going to actively keep that emotion. And really, like, regardless of whatever you believe in, if you're not putting action towards something, it's really like meaningless. And that's whatever ideology that you have, and it don't really matter if you're like, you know, uh, a feminist, Black Republican, Pan African, indigenous. If you're whatever you are, if you're not actually, and you don't have to even do what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? Go out there and make some kind of difference yourself. And that's the issue that we have a lot of times. And then when I say, yo, I'm not as hard on the coon, like, yo, it's because I'm not as hard on us, because I'm starting to wonder how many of us is really about that action, really about that change, who really want that work for real. Because like I said, you don't have to follow nobody, but we can make all kind of excuses in the world. And then you say, who do you follow? And then look at what's wrong with this leader that you so-called have. But it's irrelevant what's wrong with what I'm doing. Just know that you always going to be wrong if you stand on that path that you have. You never know when your time is going to be up. And I don't know if y'all have children or whatever, but you have to start leaving them with some kind of legacy. You ain't never going to get nothing if you're not willing to take or do what it takes to change the scenario, to change the situation. And it's like, yo, it's really sad that and like I said, it's not just me, because yo, like I said, these problems have been going on before I was even born. And there have been people trying to take action, and maybe people get it misconstrued when I say this, some of the stuff that I say, because yeah, sometimes I do be like trolling to make people mad or whatever, just to make you be willing to take action and look at the situation that you really in, that you really facing. But yo, it's the truth. If we cannot fundamentally sustain ourselves, then we really got an issue. If we look at each other like like as a problem, we don't have no hospitals like we're supposed to have. And then we wonder why when somebody speaks out or does something, oh yeah, well they're going against us, because we never have each other's back. We don't do the things, the small things. It's not the big things that makes the revolution. Like we all looking at the finish line, but not looking at the starting line. We looking for the sky to crack, yo, and that's what I mean when I be like, yo, we so spooked out, you know what I'm saying? Because we looking for this magical cure that's going to change everything when really it's a process. You start taking over your communities, but yo, you can't do that if you're not really willing to actually put in the work. Because you can go on here and criticize somebody's ideology, how somebody feels, and all of that. It don't really matter. Because facts are the facts. Because no matter what the ideology is, you can see the people who are really out here trying to help. And you don't have to cure AIDS. You just have to like, yo, start from whatever you think that you need to start from. If you think you need to do something, go take the action. Just take the first step. Because like, yo, like living, yo, we got so many people just caught up in the streets, you know what I'm saying? And even if you're not, so many of us is not taking care of our health. It's like the basics. And I take an extreme position on here because that seems to be the only thing that we can hear, but we don't even hear that. Because it's a psychological problem when you only want to sit there and point out the differences that you have with somebody else as opposed to really trying to make a solution. You got to look down within yourself and like, yo, is this what I want? If so, then like, yo, why are we here? See me, I'm willing to like, yo, I got the rest of my life for this, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, what are you willing to sacrifice? Like, what are you willing to do? I'm willing to do things that I wouldn't normally do on the regular to try to help, to try to make a change. And then you'll see who is really there to help. Because, like I said, it's straight bigger than me. I'm just a regular person. That's why I never look at myself as like I'm different from any other black person. Well, every time I come on here to talk, it's not to talk to black people, or I mean, it's not to talk for black people. I'm talking to you because I'm no different. Yeah, I would like for us to have unity, but yo, I that's my spooked out vision right there. But yo, I'm cool with just like, yo, who is down with whatever I believe in. Do you know how I get so many people with so many ideologies to listen to my page? And like, yo, it's people that can come from, yo, Pan-African channels where they go banging on, you know what I'm saying, like indigenous people. But then you have indigenous people who will come over here and they won't even bang with each other unless they bring that particular subject up. It's because we is a common theme running through all of this. And yeah, I for me, like, I mean, I may be speaking naively, but yo, I'm not gonna get tired. I'm gonna keep going forever as long as I can, and then pass down to whoever my successor is. That same energy to like, if you really want to be free, then you have to really do what it takes. And I don't want to hear about like, yo, my ideology says this because it's garbage if it's not doing something to make a change. Like, if me trying to raise money for these people down in like Alabama, if like, yo, if I go to a lady who's like, yo, who has this problem and she be like, yo, I'm FBA. Oh, well, I'm gonna say like, oh, well, no, I can't give you this. No, I don't care. But if you really that, we're not even helping our own people. So are we really that? See, yo, we don't even know like the concept of like warfare or how to be free or how to use our leverage. We are really starting from scratch. But you know, it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? But yo, this whole thing is straight a one-sided, and When I speak of limitations or non-limitations, I'm only talking about us because we are the only ones that could put that lock on us or unlock ourselves, unlock our true potential for ourselves. Because other people are good at exploiting us for our talents and using it for their own leverage, for their own good, for doing whatever they want to do. But listen, yo, freedom comes with responsibility, and that means being able to maintain your own lifestyle, feeding yourself. And if you feed yourself, guess what? If you're healthy, you're gonna digest it. You got to be able to dispose of that too. All of that comes with freedom. I'm gonna show y'all some videos, and I'm gonna put the link in the chat if y'all want to talk about it. But I'm gonna show y'all like how other people know what it takes to be free, and we the only ones that really don't. Now, now I know a lot of people have been talking about that Buffalo shooting or whatever. I mentioned it on a couple of streams. One of them got took down though. But I want you to see that it's just not just one person. Like, yo, you better start getting prepared. Like, and I was saying that on the last one. You better start getting prepared in all aspects. Yo, you better like, yo, to the basics. Like, yo, something that you can control is being able to do push-ups, go jogging, what I'm saying, drink more water. I'm speaking to myself too. But yo, one of the biggest killers of us is our poor health. And do you think other people not only set up those situations, but take advantage of that? And now that, what I'm saying, they going out on the limb, and I'm not going to act like this is something new or that they're very unoriginal, but you got to be ready to defend yourself no matter what goes down. And that's no matter what. And being in shape, being healthy is the number one thing for everything, number one. But being able to defend yourself, because yo, this is not lone wolf incidents. So let me share the screen. So yo, the first one, y'all know about the Buffalo thing. So 15 people joined in on the private chat room that he created right before the shooting. Like, did y'all know that? That it's other people out here like watching it and seeing what's going on. So so the suspect in the shooting invited people to a chat room on the messaging platform Discord just before he shot and killed 10 people. Um, the post obtained a copy of an invitation to a private server from alleged shooter titled Happening. This is not a drill. Right before he shot 13 people at a Tops grocery store. A person familiar with the matter told the outlet that 15 people joined the room. Right, so there you have it. Yeah, at least 15 people who was joining the room while he was doing it. And y'all see he was live streaming it because they trying to get, bring technology into slaughtering us now. And so more people than initially believed, blah, blah, blah. He streamed it on Twitch. Right. A review says a review of his server says it shows a number of racist messages and planning that have been on the private server for the mass shooting dating back as far as 6 months. So he's been planning this for 6 months while y'all been sitting here arguing about FBA and all of that. That's what he was doing. He was on private servers using that to benefit whatever agenda that he had, while we were using their platforms to benefit whatever agenda they had. It's crazy. What we know at this time is that a private invite-only server was created by the suspect to serve as a personal diary chat log. approximately 30 minutes prior to the attack. However, a small group of people were invited to join the server. All right. Yeah, they trying to distance themselves or whatever, blah, blah, blah. The source told Post authorities are unaware of what the 15 Discord members who accepted the shooter's invitation did after they joined his server. So they don't know if they, you know what I'm saying, start working on their plan or, you know. Right. So, you know, there you have it, you know what I'm saying? So at least 15 other people were sitting there, you know, he was communicating with them. They knew about his plan. They was planning it together. Right? And whether you believe somebody out there who is a young white nationalist, maybe probably a Ukrainian immigrant, believes this story is real and probably like, yo, I felt like I've always wanted to do it for my whole life. Even if we're going to disregard the last 600 years and just say, you know, that's why you have to be prepared. That's why you have to be prepared, because you never know. And while we distance ourselves, now I want y'all to look at the symbolism, you know, good old Joe and what he had to say about the shooting. I don't know how many of y'all saw that, but let's see what good old Joe had to say about this shooting here.
Biden and the First Lady in Buffalo, where 10 lives were taken in an attack authorities say was driven by racist hate. The president spending more than an hour and a half meeting with the families today and then speaking to the country, condemning racism, white supremacy, calling it a poison, saying no more, and calling out those in the media and politics who the president says are giving this hate oxygen for political gain and for profit. The president and First Lady paying their respects at this makeshift memorial that continues to grow tonight. The president later speaking before the nation, giving the microphone to the First Lady, Jill Biden, first. She spoke about the horror and her message to the families. The president meeting with local leaders outside the Tops Market, and after meeting privately with the grieving families, then telling the American people that this was a murderous, racist rampage that brought so much pain, calling it domestic terrorism. ABC senior White House correspondent Mary Bruce leading us off tonight.
In Buffalo today, President Biden visiting the site of what he called a murderous, racist rampage, spending over an hour and a half meeting with the families of the 10 people killed, emotionally remembering the victims one by one.
Andre McNeil, 53, worked at a restaurant, went to buy his 3-year-old son a birthday cake. His son's selling a birthday, asking where's daddy.
The president, blunt.
What happened here is simple and straightforward. Terrorism. Terrorism. Domestic terrorism. Violence inflicted in the service of hate.
The president calling out those who espouse replacement theory, the racist belief allegedly embraced by the shooting suspect that there is a conspiracy to replace white Americans with people of color.
The hate that through the media and politics, the internet, has radicalized, angry, alienated, lost, and isolated individuals into falsely believing that they will be replaced.
Biden assailing the politicians and members of the media who amplify the bigoted ideology.
And I condemn those who spread the lie for power, political gain, and for profit. White supremacy is a poison. It's a poison running through, it really is. Running through our body politic. And it's been allowed to fester and grow right in front of our eyes.
The president declaring this hate cannot be the story of our time.
We have to refuse to live in a country where Black people going about a weekly grocery shopping can be gunned down by weapons of war deployed in a racist cause.
And Mary Bruce joins us tonight from the White House. And Mary, another president now comforting the nation after another horrific mass shooting in America. And we took note today while watching this together that he gave the microphone to First Lady Dr. Jill Biden first.
David, the First Lady by the president's side throughout the day, visiting the memorial and meeting with the victims' families. And before the president spoke, she thanked them for, quote, opening up your hearts to us. The First Lady visibly emotional, saying they too know what it's like to lose a piece of your soul.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, yeah, give me a second to wipe my tear off since she know what it's like to lose a piece of her soul or whatever. Anyway. Now, when you look at this, right, not only, I want you to look at what he says and what he doesn't say, right? Oh, white supremacy. By the way, you know what I'm saying, had his good old hand, he had his hand in it throughout his history. But white supremacy is a poison that must be eradicated. Now, I didn't hear him say we got to put Stop Black Hate bill into motion. I didn't hear him say we got to, put some kind of funding into it. Matter of fact, I don't hear him say we need $40 billion to help with black aid against white supremacist attacks. See, what we are good at, Negroes, all we need is the symbolism. You know what I'm saying? Him saying that was just good enough for us. We just need to be recognized. That's the only thing that we're good after that. You know what I'm saying? I can vote for Joe Biden. He said that. Now his actions has proven otherwise as far as the bills that he has passed and the bills that he hasn't. As far as the stuff that he's introduced and the stuff that he hasn't. And the stuff that he says and the stuff that he hasn't. Yo, what's going on, my brother MG2? And the link in the chat if you want to come on here. And y'all let me know if you come on. All right, nobody on here. But like you see what's going on, like. And by the way, Joe Biden himself has said, been on record talking about, oh yeah, the Latino is about to be the majority. And when he's talking about, so y'all Negroes is gonna have to work with them and what they're doing, even though he's gonna do what he has to do to keep him, the people that look like him, his son, his lineage. Nobody is gonna go out without a fight. But see, yo, it's the symbolism that is enough for us. Yo, a room full of Negroes started clapping when he said white supremacy is a poison. But a room full of Asians stared intently when he signed a Stop Asian Hate bill. I'm not even sure if they turned out to vote for him. But you had Negroes saying, yo, you better go out there and do this because lesser of two evils. That's a retarded mindset. And that's not talking for Donald Trump either. There is no such thing as lesser of two evils. There is which weapon can be used or which person can be used better to benefit us. But we're not even on that level of benefiting us because our ideologies tells us that I can't side with you if you believe this one thing, even though we agree on these 99 other things. But that's just the mindset that we have. Meanwhile, while we are good with the symbolism and we are still saying lesser of two evils, let's see what Joe Biden has just done for the good old people of Ukraine.
War in Ukraine. President Biden today signing a bipartisan $40 billion military and humanitarian aid package into law. It comes as Russia claims its biggest strategic victory yet, full control of the devastated city of Mariupol. Russia now stepping up attacks in eastern Ukraine. These images here circulating on social media show a recent strike on a hospital. And the Kremlin tonight shutting off gas exports to Finland as that country moves to join NATO. ABC's Tom Sufi Burridge is in Kyiv tonight.
Tonight, as President Biden signs that massive $40 billion Ukrainian aid package, Russia claiming missiles hit a fresh supply of Western weapons in central Ukraine. The Kremlin releasing this video, no confirmation from the Ukrainian side. President Zelensky thanking Biden for signing off on more military aid, but also calling today on NATO nations to send long-range sophisticated rocket launchers, saying they're key to our survival. U.S. supplied.
And by the way, y'all, I just asked for like 10,000 to help some people get a septic tank.
President Zelensky.
He's asking for 40 billion to help some people kill some white people, kill some other white people for some white people issues that, you know, comes out of my pocket.
Thanking Biden for signing off on more military aid, but also calling today on NATO nations to send long-range sophisticated rocket launchers, saying they're key to our survival. US supplied weapons already playing a key role on the battlefield as Russia ramps up its offensive in eastern Ukraine. Videos circulating online showing the aftermath of a Russian strike on a hospital in this frontline town. The Kremlin claiming its biggest victory so far in this war, saying it has complete control of the key port city of Mariupol. The fate of the last Ukrainian fighters to surrender uncertain as they're taken further into Russian-controlled territory. Putin.
Those Negroes dropped that bomb in that Ukrainian city, and there's no telling how far those Negro leaders are going to take this war, and they're not safe nowhere in Russia.
Putin's war bringing horror to countless Ukrainian homes.
So this is Vanya's room.
Alexei showing us his son Vanya's now empty room. Vanya, 15, shot dead by Russian soldiers. The family car
By African soldiers.
Sprayed with bullets as his mum tried to drive him to safety. Alexei telling us he'd do anything to swap places with his son. But after burying young Vanya, Alexei now heading back to the front line, wanting revenge on Russia. That $40 billion military aid package, which had strong...
Wait a minute. You telling me somebody killed his son and he wants revenge on them? Who does that?
Safety. Alexei telling us he'd do anything to swap places with his son. But after burying young Vanya, Alexei now heading back to the front line, wanting revenge on Russia. That $40 billion military aid package, which had strong bipartisan support, was actually flown to South Korea so President Biden could sign it. It speaks of the urgency in ramping up military support for Ukraine as Russia tries to break through in the east of this country. Whit?
All right, Tom, thank you. And for more on the...
All right, now, you know, maybe I could have picked a better video to show y'all. Yo, MG2, my good brother, what's going on?
Man, just love listening to you. Yeah, you're showing exactly what needs to be shown. You know, I mean, everything that, you know, I look at things in this way. And a lot of folks may or may not disagree, or may not agree because, you know, everyone has their take on a political situation. Brother Forecast. Joe Biden is doing everything perfect. He's doing everything right. Everything that he should do, I expect. And matter of fact, I want him to do it. I want him to continue on the trajectory that he is. I want him to go ahead and actually, you know, increase his trajectory of, for lack of a better term, of being very nonplussed or apathetic about Black folks' issues. You know, his world is Ukraine. His issues are Ukraine. His audience that he's garnering is Ukraine, which is cool. The thing that I find quite remarkable is a lot of our folk are not necessarily cognizant that that's a reality. So therefore, in other words, if you have a captive audience, you don't have to please them. They're going to show up no matter if you hit a bad note or whatever. They're just going to sit there like gullible seals and take whatever fish they get. That's unfortunately our folk. Joe Biden could go ahead and he could use the N-word tomorrow night, and unfortunately, Black folk will still fall for the wolf ticket. Whereas he's looking for an audience that he needs, that's more strategic for him, something that he wants, and something that's more akin to even his own ethnic group. And that's, of course, $50 billion to Ukraine. What I find quite remarkable is our folks still thinking that someone is out there that's going to have their interests that has never had their interest from day one. And that matter of fact, that works against our interest. I find it, I'm quite flummoxed. It's actually like I said, it's quite surreal that at this late stage of the game that a lot of our folks aren't necessarily, very cognizant that, the only thing that these individuals called political leaders are there for is for us to use them as a tool to destroy their system and everything about them. So therefore, I personally, and I'm just talking for myself, I think that Biden is doing everything that I want, that I expect, that I hope he continues, because personally for myself, all I look at him is how can I use him as a tool to destroy him, the system that they work through, their so-called governance, their so-called financial systems, no matter how I can work to destroy it, but also in the meantime, that we could use it to embolden ourselves and use it so we have resource, so we win the game. So we can actually go ahead and not only survive this, but actually conquer. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of perspective there, Brother Forecast. I'll pass the mic.
Yeah, definitely, my brother. And yo, thank you for coming on. Yo, what up, Seymour? Yeah, 40 billion and no reparations. But yeah, like that is the reparations though, you know what I'm saying? But they're gonna repair their own, you know what I'm saying? Especially for their own allies. And MG2, I didn't even get into like, yo, the breakdown. Maybe I could have picked a better video of like how they was gonna break down that money or whatever. But let me show this so while he just moved on to like Asia somewhere, he stopped by, gave the I'm sorry for the Negro speech, and went into a room full of Negroes, then went on to Asia to bigger matters or whatever. So he signed that while he was over in Asia. And along with, I ain't even mentioned the baby formula thing. I used to tell a joke, MG2, like, I tell a joke to my mom, like, I ain't seen chicken wings in the store since Joe Biden got in office, because she like a Democrat supporter,
I got you. Yeah, I feel you.
But the bill is increased funding from $5 billion. He originally requested 11 billion, but they were like, no, let's give him 40 billion. You know what I'm saying? So it would assist Ukraine military and national security forces and will go towards weapons, equipment, training, logistics, and intelligence support, as well as other needs. 9 billion to help restock U.S. equipment that has been sent to Ukraine, so giving them even more weapons. 3.9 billion for the European command operations, which includes mission support, intelligence support, hardship pay for troops deployed to the region, and equipment, including a Patriot battery. All right. To address humanitarian needs would include 900 million to bolster refugee assistance, including housing, trauma support, English language instruction, teach them how to speak English, you know what I'm saying? The measure provides an additional 54 million for public health and medical support for refugee. So what do you think about that, MG2?
Always add 20% more to whatever they're going to get. Okay, so if you add 20% more, that's another 8 billion right there. And the reason I say that, when you said about healthcare and English speaking and everything else, that's not to make sure that it's used in Ukraine. That's used when for quote unquote refugee assistance. In other words, they're coming over here, and that's where that money is going to be used, so they could build business, so they could have healthcare, so they could have pensions and things. Because again, a lot of our folk don't realize, Brother Forecast, that and it's not just Biden, I'm talking the entire, because remember, this is a bipartisan thing. This is whites looking out for whites, which is what they're supposed to do. The thing that I find it quite amazing is that at this late stage, again, 600 years later, we are an afterthought, and we want to put ourselves as African and Black folks as an afterthought, thinking someone's going to think of us first and our interests and our needs. Of course, a lot of that money that they have is for them, because Ukraine's not an afterthought. The folks that had, the Black folks that had they had 10 people killed, to Biden and his so-called, again, he gave his so-called wife, his first lady, the mic, he didn't have the mic. He gave her the mic. In other words,
And she
we're
spoke
still an
first.
afterthought. Right. It's like, man, you N-words are an afterthought to me, but I'll go ahead and let her talk to you because our mindset is, like I said, we're like gullible sheep or seals. You give us a fish and we'll bark. And it's unfortunate that at this late stage of the game, our folks still don't get it. And it's more of us who really understand, overstand, and understand that, fighting our own to try to go ahead and say, look, guys, you're an afterthought. But they want to live as if they're an afterthought. Here's what's really, really insidiously demonic about this whole situation. The money that they get is coming, most relatively speaking, in terms of the percentage of revenue generation, whether it's tax subsidies, not just what you get from your paycheck, but also what you have to pay to go ahead and get those shorties at the store you smoke, or go ahead and get that liquor, or even get those chicken wings that aren't there. Relatively speaking, black folks pay a higher revenue generation. In other words, higher taxes, bonds, bills, feeds, stipends to others. We pay more, relatively speaking, than anyone else. Why? Because we don't own the stores and the corporations and the manufacturing and everything else. They let us take advantage of loopholes. And I'm talking relatively speaking, every other race pays less. So the thing is, the majority of that money to go ahead and save these Ukrainians or anyone else, again, it's not to save them in Ukraine, it's to make sure they come over United States and they go ahead and take advantage of this free money. The majority of that money that goes to them that they can use to re-exploit us comes from us. So therefore, when you're an afterthought, it's no wonder that somebody can do that to you. And it's unfortunate that individuals like yourself and I and others that are here on the Team Black forum, it's unfortunately others that aren't a part of that are literally an impediment to us. They're actually the problem for us because we're trying to reverse that, or at least halt it in its tracks, saying, look, we're an afterthought, keep our resources to ourselves, keep our money to ourselves. Matter of fact, if we have to go to the Russians and set up good economic cooperatives, let's do what we can for ourselves. But we're battling against our own. They want the status quo of us to be an afterthought, the same. So hopefully that helps out. I'll pass the mic.
Yeah, definitely, MG2. Like that money is meant for like those little brads that's gonna come over here, or little Vladimirs, or what's Vladimir that's gonna come over here and be the cop in the next 15 years. That's what that money is going to. But MG2, like you right, you mean to tell me like, yo, Joe Biden was like, yo, some Negroes got shot, and I'm gonna send my wife out there to go handle that one. You know what I'm saying? If I got 15 minutes before my plane leave for Asia, I'll say something. But
remember, he did that before when he was when he and Charlemagne were remember when he was talking to Charlemagne? I believe it was Charlemagne, and he says, "Oh, I gotta go. I have a meeting or something like that." And a lot of our folks. This was during his so-called candidacy when he was campaigning. And
MG2, that was when he was like, "Oh, and by the way, before I leave, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. I'm just letting you know. I gotta go, but if you don't vote for me, you're not black."
And remember how folks were calling him out on that because he was like, "Oh, I forgot." He had an excuse that he was talking to his wife or something, and she's gonna get mad if I don't pick her up. Oh, I gotta go. This is what I mean by an afterthought. And this late stage of the game, our folks still think that we're not an afterthought. And that's and it's unfortunate because I can't go after what he's doing. He's doing everything right. He's giving his folks, because they're at the forefront of his mind, not us. So I'm not going to sit there and lambast him for doing what I expect. I have to lambast those who should know better. And those folks look like us. The folks who should know better and do better. In other words, to know exactly what what the scenarios or what the environment is, and to really work so we can protect ourselves and win in this unfortunate environment. It's not battling Joe Biden, Brother Forecast. It's battling our own to actually do something to help our own. And when I say that, I'm talking about, if you look at most folks, especially if they're over 40 years old, most of them still don't know that there is alternatives in terms of governance. Or, and when I say alternatives, I'm talking about using government as a tool, using presidents or mayors or anything else as a tool. A lot of our folks still don't know that. They think that they have this idealism that, oh yeah, well, you know, I'm traditional Democrat because Republicans are racist or whatever. They're all racist. Remember, that bill is a bipartisan bill. So it was voted on no matter what the party was. But it was not voted on to say, okay, we're going to help Somalia or we're going to help whoever else. No, what they voted on, again, bipartisan, is they said, look, we're going to give you carte blanche to send 100 troops to Somalia so we could do Black Hawk Down Part 2. But in the meantime, while we're sending troops to kill Africans, we're going to send black folks money in the United States, their tax revenue, to go ahead and help Ukraine. And our folks still don't get that, you know, and it's unfortunate, but it is a reality that, you know, clearly this is what the record states. This is not opinion. This is not, I think. This is not, it may be. It's not conjecture. This is the reality. And until we digest this reality, Brother Forecast, the only reality we're going to have in the near future is one that I really, really fear, and that's one that happened to those so-called hook-nosed bagel-eating Jews back in the 1940s. So I'll pass the mic to you.
Yeah, I like that one. I like how you say that one. But yeah, MG2, like, yo, and I gotta take, I'm gonna go to the next thing because I want to get your opinion on a couple of things too, MG2. But yo, like you said, you know, is our own too, you know. And let me say this: they put up $1 billion for "quote unquote" humanitarian aid. It might have been more, but I think it was the $1 billion for humanitarian aid. And you know, I'm saying, like, yo, and I got to take the time to say this. You know, our people have water crisis. You know what I'm saying? And I'm doing something for the people in Lauderdale County, Alabama. You know, I got inspired when I, you know, talked about that. So I created something, and I want to be able to do something. You know what I'm saying? And I'm talking about one septic tank, and they're talking about funding the whole war. So that shows you, like, when I say can't and stuff like that, that like that's why. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm just saying you got to get there. You know? But yo, MD2, I don't know if you saw the beginning when I showed hold on, let me I messed up. Let me share my screen. I don't know if you saw the beginning when I showed this. The 15 people had joined the chat room. He the Buffalo shooter, that little crazy white boy, that psychopath. And so, like, he had a private chat, and like, yo, like it said, like 15 to 20 people was in the chat room, and they was like planning it the whole time and stuff like that. And but also, you know, I want to go to the next thing because I don't know if you heard, it was a white boy in Harlem trying to stab people with black people, Negroes, with a syringe needle. You know what I'm saying? So let me play this real quick. I can't blow the Facebook videos up, but whatever.
No, they watched the whole thing. They watched the whole thing. Man, stop it. They gonna help your ass. We all see it, man. You know we watching, man. Ain't no way to run.
But yo, hey, look at all them cops surrounding him. But God forbid if a Negro ever had said or done anything wrong, or, you know, like, yo, he deserved to be killed, but whatever.
But the one on the floor had a bunch of needles and stuff, but he good. I'm gonna update you. That man, he admitted, if you open up, he admitted. Me watching the whole thing, he swung on the back, he swung. He beat it. I'm not gonna shut up, it's the public reason. It's not no subject.
All right, now it's not like a lot of news coverage on this, so it's not no articles or nothing. But so this is what happened. He decided to stab black folks with needles, and this is from that shooting. But there is not even really no coverage on this like that. But yeah. So MG2, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, their so-called media did the right thing by not covering it. Why do I say that? Because it's up to us. Matter of fact, it's up to us. Those cops that didn't kill him like they would kill a brother just, you know, because he's walking across the street or put a knee in the neck. They let it, you know, they'll probably take him to Burger King like Dylan Roof. That means they're doing the right thing. The thing not only do I want, but the thing that I expect. Why do I say that? It's up to us to go ahead and cover our media like what you're doing. In other words, if we were to do our job, we would have known as an African people, instead of doxing folks because they're a gender war or this folks an Israelite, I'm going to dox him because he's this and that, which is what we do because we find that it's a lot easier to fight ourselves. We should dox him, find out not only where he lives, who he is, find out his family, find out his friends, find out where he goes, which Starbucks, find out exactly if he's got a goldfish, and every one of them should be dead tomorrow night. That's if we were doing our job. If he has a pet cat, that cat is also dead. That's if we were doing our job, because we're not going to rely on the so-called cops in a video saying, look what he did, see what he did. Again, we're looking at other folks who have an afterthought on our interests. Cops do not look out for us. Matter of fact, we're not supposed to be of their interest. We're supposed to be their targets. We're looking at so-called media to go ahead and cover things. And it's fortunate that somebody did cover this, because I'm quite flummoxed that somebody did. It's incredulity to me that somebody would even, to look out for our interests. It's up to us. We used to have a thing, Brother Forecast, back in the day called the Grapevine. If we did our job, and the reason I say this, Brother Forecast, is because back in the day, they used to have this thing called a mafia, and they took care of business. Okay, when stuff like this happened, cops knew to stay away because they were like, oh, they already got this. If you remember what happened with Gotti, and some guy hit one of his relatives with a car, I think a child or whatever, hit him with a car, and a few days later, that individual ended up dead. Cops were like, no, they got this. Well, when it comes to us and our interest, first thing we're going to go is no justice, no peace. Those are racist white supremacy. Where's Biden? Biden should have, and why don't the government and the police and the. Again, if you're an afterthought and you think that you're not an afterthought and the evidence shows you that, then you deserve for them not to cover it. You deserve needles to be stabbed in you. You deserve to get shots in a supermarket because you're looking and waiting for someone else to go ahead and have your interests. You're waiting for someone else to go ahead and protect you and to show you how to wipe your butt or whatever. It's 600 years late and overdue for Africans, Black folks, whatever we call ourselves, to have our own interests and actually to go ahead and protect those interests and to fight like we really mean those interests to matter to us. And a lot of folks don't like what I say because they're still waiting for white folks like they're waiting for Godot. They're still waiting, how come you say you must be of this, you must be of that because you let white folks do that. Well, damn it, Negro, I don't care what whites do. I care what I do to prevent what they do and to make sure that they are my fertilizer in my lawn. If I'm not thinking in terms of them fertilizing my lawn, then I have a problem with myself because they're definitely making sure we fertilize their lawns. Don't ask me. There's 10 bodies right now that are going to be fertilizing the lawn because we have not protected ourselves last Saturday. I'll go ahead and pass the mic there, Brother Forecast.
And that's all facts, MG2. And this is that little white boy going around, and now I'm telling you, it's the not having no consequences part. You know what I'm saying? That's the issue. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have a problem where we can only reprimand or do something or have some kind of smoke for ourselves. We can only argue or have some kind of issue with ourselves. When it comes to somebody spilling our blood, literally, we will go out there with signs and stuff talking about no justice, no peace, then turn around and be the most peaceful and never get no justice. Now, I don't know why this little white boy can sit here so comfortably in Harlem. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what time it is, you know what I'm saying, what year, because I'm tired of people saying, yo, it's 2022, it's 1822. Why is there still racism? It's the same difference. The fact that he can sit here so comfortably and know that nothing is going to happen and those cops is going to surround him and they don't even got to have their hands on their guns because they know no Negro here is going to do nothing but pull out a cell phone. It's the fact that they can keep coming in your neighborhoods and doing this kind of stuff. And the reason why they can do that is because they can be on forums. They can get on your forum and then learn everything that you got to say, all of your plans, and knowing, well, it ain't no plans, all of your debates about where you come from, about who fault it is that we're in this situation, about who's the coon, about all of this stuff. They can go on your forums, learn all this stuff, go back on their forums and say, yo, these Negroes like to go dance at, you know what I'm saying, Club 42 on Saturday, so we can go pull up on Saturday at 8:42 and we'll get the highest profile Negro out there, and then we can sit on the sidewalk comfortably with handcuffs on us because nobody's gonna try us. You know what I'm saying? And that's why they can continue to do what they do. And that's on every single level. They can continue to because we all probably drinking poison water if you drink out your water out of your sink or whatever, and they can continue to do that because as Black people we don't put our energy together to solve our own issues, because at the end of the day we are all we got. That's the whole point of a war. Do you know why I say they fail? Because when somebody stops you, you can't let them stop you. That's the point. The defense plays defense to stop you. Your goal is to achieve your goal and not let anybody ever stop you. But you will never achieve that goal if stuff like this can happen, and then you'll turn around and go hug him in court and say, I forgive you, when he's busy writing his manifesto trying to inspire the next AIDS needle stabber. You know what I'm saying? So yo, MG2, you want to say something before I go to the next one?
Yeah, it goes back to what I'm saying, and I keep trying to reiterate. I'm gonna overstate it. Dr. John Henrik Clarke said this very well. When the way to have these things stop is when something happens to someone, no one knows who did it, no one knows how even, but they're gonna know why. As you said very eloquently well, consequence. Consequence is the biggest teacher we always have. When we're a child and we touch a stove, consequence tells us not to do that again. When we go ahead and have bad homework and get an F, and you're facing that belt the next day from your dad, consequence tells you, hey, I need to get an A. When you go ahead and jaywalk, and not only do you get a ticket, but you might get you might get hit by a car. Consequence tells you not to do that. Unfortunately, we don't adopt consequence until we look at each other and try to go ahead and debase each other by using that term consequence. We'll go ahead and shoot someone because they stepped on our shoe. We'll go ahead and, the prisons are filled with what I used to call it hip hop, but the prisons are filled with what is called consequence. We look at each other and say, well, you did that to me, or you this and that. So all of a sudden, we're going to go ahead and deliver a measure of so-called consequence. But when it comes to someone else who clearly has deserved consequence going against them, they could live decades, they could live centuries, they could live whatever, it doesn't matter. If you look at this in terms of consequence, there's one that happened back in, I think it was 2009, and something that happened in 1955. The first consequence in 2009, I should say even one in 2012 as well. There was a young brother walking down the street in Florida for some Skittles and Long Island not Long Island, excuse me, some Arizona iced tea. And consequence has not been delivered to the guy that took him off the planet. Back in 2009, a young brother who was on a train, and all of a sudden somebody thought that they pulled out a taser, shot him in the back, and consequence has not been delivered to that individual. 1955, a young brother was in the middle. He was Mississippi, and all of a sudden, some Becky decided to say, "Hey, he whistled at me. She's still alive." Consequence has not been delivered. So until we learn the word of consequence against those that have trespassed against us as Black folk, then I guess all bets are off, Brother Forecast. I'll go ahead and pass the mic on that.
Yeah. Hey, MG2, you might would have just said something I might disagree with. I would take you on a bet. I would bet you that we won't do nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think the bets are on, and they making the bet all day, every day, that these Negroes ain't gonna do nothing. So let's do what we got to do. You know what I'm saying?
And win that bet every time, Brother Forecast.
Yeah, and I owe it to Erica. I was gonna go to the next thing, but I owe it to Erica because I meant to tell the story, because you reminded me, in Florida, this Florida lynching of Willie James Howard is real quick. This was like 1944 or something like that. Now, like, I ain't do as much research as I should, but this brother during Christmas time wrote out Christmas letters to a lot of people, a lot of kids or whatever, including white kids. Now, he liked this little white girl, you know what I'm saying? One of the first, this is the one before Emmett Till. He liked this little white girl, so he wrote her a letter. And now she got offended that she got this Christmas letter, even though he gave it out to everybody. And so he wrote her a letter because he liked her. And he was like, yo, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you and stuff like that. And, like basically some 1940s flirting, like, yo, I'm smitten with you, you know what I'm saying, kind of language, And so her dad sees that, And so the way I hear the story, you know, her dad, once he sees that, he pulls up to this young brother's house, Willie James Howard, and his mom was there. Now they was like, yo, we just want to talk to him. You know how they hit that story all the time. We just want to talk to him. We're gonna bring him back. Now, first of all, like, yo, let me say this. His mom should not have ever, ever, ever let him walk out of that house while she was still alive. You know what I'm saying? And that's because the dad isn't there, but both parents, you know what I'm saying? But the mom was there, but she allowed it to happen. Now, according to the story, they drove to his dad's job to pick them up, you know what I'm saying, with his kid in the car and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying, and took him out to some lake or whatever, and they had guns or whatever. So they you know, they was like, yo, you wrote my daughter this letter and blah blah blah. And they was like, yo, you got any last words? And his father just only comforted him. According to the story, his father only comforted him knowing that he was going to die, and there's nothing they could do. Now they took this gun and made this, I think he was 14 or 15-year-old kid, Willie James Howard, jump in the river, and you know, of course he ended up dying or whatever. And then they took his dad back to his job, you know what I'm saying? And he worked the rest of the shift, according to the story. He worked the rest of the shift and then came home and told his mom, you know what I'm saying, you know, little Willie James Howard is not coming home for dinner, you know what I'm saying? And there was like no consequences whatsoever. And the fact that like, if that's a true story, you know what I'm saying? Like, and the story of Willie James Howard is true, you know, but if the way the story goes, and if both of these parents are still alive and after their child has been like that, it explains everything. So, you know, but you got something to say, my brother MG2, before I go?
Yeah, I mean, you said it all. You know, it's I feel for Tracy Martin, who lost his son. I feel for the 10 Africans that just lost their family, and I feel for the Black folks that lost their family over there in Charlottesville, or Charleston, excuse me, over in Charleston back in 2015. But if we look at it, there's a repetitive pattern somewhere. Okay, somewhere in this, there is something that is definitely a common theme. And if we see that there's a common theme of something like this happening, then I'd be quite, you know, anyone that complains about what white folks do, I literally have to say that I have to look in and question their intelligence, Brother Forecast, because clearly there's a pattern that we're not breaking. And that pattern, as you say, goes back to 1945. I'll pass the mic.
Yeah, it goes back to 1445. But
yeah. Yep.
All right, but so yeah, let's go to the next thing, MG2, because I don't want to hold you on here too long, and I don't want to be on here too long either. Now I want you to look at this next thing in two different ways. Not only what to expect to come to you, but also something that you should be doing your damn self. Now, I'm gonna play some of this video because it's kind of long. I'm not playing the whole thing. I don't plan on it, so. But just look at it as if this is the Black Wing Army, you know what I'm saying, getting trained up, you know.
There's gonna be war in the streets, man.
Look to your right. Look to your left. What's behind?
Cities are gonna burn. Cops are gonna get killed. I hope it doesn't happen here, man.
Hey, and I'm sorry, y'all, but October 29th, 2020. I think that's before January 6th, because I keep telling y'all, they was telling y'all this time and time again before January 6th. Because I heard Black people say, oh, they don't get on the internet and they don't do this and they do all of that stuff, but they take action. You know what I'm saying? That's the difference. They take action. They say they're going to do something, they do it. You say no justice, no peace, you say, and then you turn around and be peaceful. They take action. It's the only difference.
The only thing we can do is just get ready for the worst. Block. This here.
Casey Robertson sees a conflict coming. A self-employed father of 4, he watched this spring as protests for racial justice spread across the country.
I was nervous about seeing that coming to Utah. Absolutely.
And he says he saw a threat to his very way of life.
I grew up in Provo, Utah. Very conservative.
Are under threat.
present themselves as people who are arming themselves and getting prepared in various ways, all in an effort to protect their communities that they believe are under threat. The problem with that is what is a situation that goes sideways for them.
Protests this year over the police killing of George Floyd have been largely peaceful. But at a Black Lives Matter rally in Provo in June, Robertson thought he saw his fears come true.
The most violent rally they've ever been to.
A driver tore through the crowd. Shots were fired. Details were unclear. But Robertson took action immediately.
I said, nope, I'm not going to just sit here and let this happen. And I just stood up and I went into my computer and I got...
Nope, I'm not just gonna sit here and let this happen. I just got in my computer and got on Facebook and said...
On Facebook, and I said, this is a call to arms. We're going to go, come down there, come strapped. Practice your Second Amendment.
Damn, practice your Second Amendment. It's better than I can ever tell you this, you know what I'm saying?
With that, the Utah Citizens Alarm, or UCA, was born. Its Facebook page quickly racked up thousands of followers. 2 days later, returning protesters were met by scores of armed men.
There were other groups at this protest, armed groups who say they were here to keep peace by not allowing any protesters or anyone else to damage or vandalize property.
We had a hodgepodge, motley crew looking bunch of people. There were no rules, there were no standards, we had no policies and procedures set up.
You mean one of them may be like, yo, you from Britain, or you French, or you fucking Dutch, or you're old, or you're kind of tan, or whatever they fight over, or you're a woman.
I mean, we had no clue what we were doing other than we were going to go down there and just show, and it worked.
The UCA is one of many armed groups across the country that have made headlines this year by showing up at protests for racial justice. The confrontations have sometimes turned violent, most notably in Kenosha, Wisconsin, where a 17-year-old allegedly shot and killed 2 men in August.
There has been real violence out of this movement just in recent months.
Tensions boiling over as armed men faced off with counter demonstrators.
I mean, it's completely reasonable to be fearful of a bunch of white men carrying around long guns. This is essentially a far, far right conservative movement, conspiratorial movement, and sometimes very extreme.
It's like that picture of Malcolm X with his gun looking out the window. It's like, I get a...
Yo, did you hear that? And on Malcolm X weekend at that. And that's the irony. That let me know I'm on the right track.
This is essentially a far, far right conservative movement, conspiratorial movement, and sometimes very extreme.
It's like that picture of Malcolm X with his gun looking out the window. It's like, I get a sense of that feeling, you know, of what he felt.
John Sullivan was an organizer of the Black Lives Matter rally in Provo.
I don't need to hear this either. It's
They
just
don't
as
even
bad.
know nothing about me. It's just this perception. If you show up to protect your community, you're a racist.
I'm sorry to keep pausing it, y'all, but yo, if you show up to protect, the key word is if, right? If you show up to protect your community, you're a racist. If you don't show up to protect your community, you're not a racist, and you can't be.
Not all self-styled militia groups are made up of white supremacists, but experts argue they are inseparable from America's history.
Was created on a bedrock of the original militia movement in modern America was created on a bedrock of racism and anti-Semitism. It sought to use the idea of political violence as a legitimate form of response to a country that had moved far beyond.
I'm sorry, I'm trying not to keep stopping, but stop saying in anti-Semitism. Who cares about anti-Semitism? It's about anti-blackness and nothing else for me. And then it better be for you too.
On the days of segregation, the militia movement and the paramilitary organizations, while spouting the idea of being non-racist, seem to...
Anti-government groups, white supremacists. It's an extraordinary amount of material that has metastasized in a short period of time, and you can't get rid of it all.
Meanwhile, the UCA has focused its attention on building its ranks through fundraising and training.
Okay, and you're going to go back down.
The drills that we're doing here today involve what we call stress shooting. I have them jog and box in place for a half a minute or so, just to get the adrenaline going and get the muscles twitchy and get their breathing up. because what happens then is their shooting accuracy degrades.
Rick Carpenter was a police volunteer in Arizona.
We're not a bunch of thugs. We are concerned citizens who obey the law in every
That's a
respect.
psychopath thugs.
And we are going to use the laws to the best of our advantage to help protect life, liberty, and property.
And I'm sorry, one more time. I'm gonna say that again. We are concerned citizens who obey the law in every
Obey
aspect.
the law in every respect. And we are going
to use the laws to the best of our
to
advantage.
use the laws to the best of our advantage to help protect
life, liberty, and property.
life, liberty, and property.
I have implied my innocence. I have implied that I acted in legal self-defense.
We believe that there are people here in Utah who are preparing to cause violence. We have seen people coming in from out of state who we have identified as Antifa. We feel that they are preparing, and so we are preparing accordingly.
There is no evidence that Antifa or other left-wing groups are a threat to Utah, and most protests here have been peaceful. But Robertson claims his group is monitoring activists.
We've got a large intelligence team right now. And I won't say too much about that, but
And we monitoring their ass right now.
let's just say that we know a lot. We know what's going on in our communities. We know who the bad players are. We know where the potential for violence is.
All right, so I'm gonna stop it right there. There's probably some more important information right in there, but MG2, my brother, my good brother, I like to hear what you got to say about that.
The white boy is doing everything right. Everything he's doing and he's supposed to do. I don't have any problem with his stance, what he says, what he's doing. He's doing what is in his best interest. And if he does something in my best interest, then I'm gonna really get scared. You know, if they were to do anything different, you know, because you know Antifa is a euphemism for the word for the N word. We all know that. Euphemisms like multiculturalism, diversity, social justice warrior, elites, you know, big government, you name it. These are euphemisms for the word for the N word. You know, they just don't want to say it. You know, this is a way for others to say it. Bad actors, you know, things like that. That's cool. That's his prerogative, as Bobby Brown would sing. I don't mind that. Matter of fact, I would like to see that because I like my Klansmen clanny. I don't want my Klansmen to sit back and say, well, you know, let's all, you know, kumbaya and get along. I want my Klansmen to wear their hoods because it's an enemy that's a lot easier to you know, to decipher and a lot easier to reveal. You know, I mean, it's like, oh, okay, you're obvious. The thing, again, I have to go back to my original stance. I find it quite surreal and quite fascinating that our folks at this late stage of the game still think that others who are trying to protect their interests have our interest in mind, even if it comes from their so-called white Jesus by the name of Biden or these Klansmen that you're showing. My thing is, he's talking about his Second Amendment right, his First Amendment right, in order to go ahead and go against the quote-unquote bad actors, i.e. multicultural, diverse, N-word, big government, elite, social justice warrior, whatever they, or woke. That's another euphemism for N-word. He wants his Second Amendment right. Well, I have a different type of amendment rights. My amendment rights aren't the first and second. I call them the ISIS amendment rights. I have an Al-Qaeda amendment rights. In other words, he can go out and work or he could go out and make sure he's got the munitions for what he does. My thing is, I'm going to head on my Al-Qaeda amendment rights is learn how to go ahead and construct IEDs, because that makes it, it's like, okay, that's your amendment, but this is my amendment. I'm an African, and African and Black folks amendments are for Black folks protection and best interest. So I have what's called the ISIS amendment rights. They go out with Confederate flags. I'll have ISIS insignia flag. And therefore, you know, I'm like, hey, you know, even though I could care less about those Arabs called ISIS, it's just the mentality that I have is no different than him. He's protecting his and his own. And so, you know, when they said that they're quote unquote respecting the so-called law, well, we saw how they did that in January 6th. You know, whereas we have, again, the same type of individuals on the same so-called Capitol steps back in 95, back in 2005, back in 2015. Their version of respecting the law is so-called justice or else, or atoning or whatever. I'm not mad at them. They did a million of them marched out there to go ahead and say justice or else. Well, we didn't get any justice, but we got a lot of or elsing. Clearly we got a lot of or elsing because George Floyd got or else. But again, he's practicing his thing within their so-called law. My law is a law of Black folks' self-preservation. And my amendments aren't their amendments. My Constitution is not their Constitution. Their Constitution is my constipation, and therefore I need to take a dump. My Constitution is like, look, it starts out like this. It's only really, I mean, their Constitution has all these articles and a lot of these paragraphs and all this other stuff. My Constitution is very simple. Black folks will win at all costs by killing everything that's in our way. That's the only statement. That's all the amendments and all the articles in my Constitution. So therefore, it's not easier for us to go ahead and say, look, we don't need to have a preamble. We don't need to go ahead and have a lot of signatures. It's very simple. We will win. We will get whatever we need, and anyone in our way is fertilizer. If unfortunately a lot of our folks, Brother Forecast, see these words as, oh, that's a threat, no, that you're going to get in trouble. Well, why? Because again, they're looking for someone else who has their Constitution and their so-called amendments to look out for them, which is their amendments. Remember, their Constitution, their amendments, or whatever these crackers are talking about is for their interests, and it's always been against us. So any one of us that don't realize that, I'm not mad. I still love you. You're Black. I just know that you're not necessarily an asset to our survival. And I will go ahead and relate to you as such. We'll talk about the weather. We'll talk about sports. We'll talk about whatever it is, because I know that's the depths of your interest for African survival. The others who are like Black identity extremists like myself will say, well, look, God dang it, yeah, of course our Constitution is one paragraph. It's for us to live and for us as Black folks worldwide to make sure we conquer. It's that simple. One paragraph, one sentence, done deal. I'll pass the mic on that there, Brother Forecast.
Yeah, that's a fact. I like that. We got a lot of or elsing. We got a lot of or else's. But that's the thing, if you look at the difference, you could tell the difference very easily when they say, we're not paying taxes, even though Britain gave them money to kill a bunch of Indians and stuff like that. They would go out there and destroy a bunch of tea or whatever. They'd take action. You know what I'm saying? When they say like, we gonna go storm the Capitol if Donald Trump gets elected, or if he doesn't get elected, and we might do it even if he does, they went out there and they did that. You know what I'm saying? When we say, I need justice for coming in my brother's apartment, killing him, we'll say, well, I'll forgive you, I'll hug you. And the person ain't never apologized. You know what I'm saying? There's a clear difference between actions, and then you wonder why you get the results that you get. You know what I'm saying? But as far as the or else book, MG2, let me show you this. I'm gonna show you another or else something that they've done to us. You know what I'm saying? And this, I'm not gonna be too long on this, but let me show you this video.
Video of an attack in an Arlington gas station, and we want to warn you, this may be difficult to watch. A woman says this man used racist language before attacking her. It happened Monday at the BP gas station on University in Fort Caroline, and this video has been shared thousands of times on social media. Police are looking for the man in this video. News4JAX reporter Marilyn Parker is joining us live from the gas station. Marilyn, the woman is still recovering from her injuries?
Yes, and this wasn't an easy thing for her to talk about, because this was a vicious attack that happened right here at this gas station on University in Fort Caroline. And, as well as it not being an easy thing to talk about, she wasn't going to say anything to begin with, but now she wants justice. And she says that starts with having this man arrested. For about 10 seconds, it was punch after punch after punch.
I never thought I would be in a situation like that, ever.
Rainey McCoy could barely stand still when talking to us about this horrific moment. She gave us these pictures, but didn't want her face shown because it's still swollen from the attack by this man at a BP gas station on University in Fort Caroline Monday.
I walked into the gas station. He came in after me and was just ranting and raving about y'all's kind and y'all need to go back and all this other stuff.
While she was buying gas at the counter, she says the man was making racial remarks and was standing close to her, so she asked for some space.
And he didn't back up. I told him, like, you know, like I could just call my dad or whatever. He was telling me like he had his gun in his.
Yo, I'm sorry, y'all, but look, yo, MD2, there's a black dude walking up slowly as this white dude is punching this woman. Look in the phone, look in the video. There's a black man walking up slowly behind her. Like, what the hell?
She asked for some space.
And he didn't back up. I told him, like, you know, like
you see this dude right here? You see this dude?
I could just call my dad or whatever. He was telling me like he had his gun in his car. So at that point I felt threatened. And then he put his beers on the counter in front of my stuff and I slid them over. And at that point, that's when he started punching me in the face.
Let's take the video frame by frame. She's facing him, his leg at the bottom of the screen. You can see her arm move. Then he swings and punches her in the face.
I was literally shocked. After the first hit, you could see my mouth drop. Like when he first hit me, I was just like, whoa. And then he kept hitting me.
The man walks out and the police report says he was in an orange 2012 Chevy Sonic. We tried speaking with the people at the gas station, but they didn't want to comment. We also called the other witnesses listed in the report, but we haven't heard back. All we have is this woman's account of what she calls a shocking attack.
I want like real charges to be brought to him, not just something simple. Like this is an actual hate crime based on everything he was saying, and it's happening all over, like to other people. And I just don't want it to happen to somebody else, like in my neighborhood.
And she says it starts by having him arrested.
A little bit more than
The Northside Coalition of Jacksonville is calling on a city of.
Yeah. So, but yeah, MV2, what do you think about that?
I believe that the so-called Million Man March was the last one was what, 2015 or something like that, and it was called Justice or Else. Since then, I believe Rayshard Brooks got or else, George Floyd got or else, Sandra Bland got or else, Breonna Taylor got or else. There was Tatiana Jefferson, she got or else. Well, just recently, Dante Wright got or else. There's a lot of folks that are getting or else. Even since then, there was a lot of Koreans that were, basically using black women as punching bags for a while, and that hasn't stopped. But they also, those sisters got or else. This sister got an or elsing as well. The only folks that aren't or elsing other people is us. We talk about justice, no peace. Well, we're not getting justice, so why are we not giving them? Why are we not giving them no peace? If we're not, if we're talking about no peace, I know somebody that did get someone no peace. They decided that they were going to go ahead and get in some planes and try to land them on the side of buildings like a jackass. It didn't work for them, but it definitely worked for their cause. We just call it 9/11. So they or else United Snakes in New York, because New York got a big or elsing. We can't even walk through a TSA without getting butt naked before we go ahead and see if we're going to get on a plane with no carry-ons nowadays. Why? Because these Arabs said justice or else, and they did a very big or else in 9/11. The thing that I noticed, again, I find it quite, I find it quite amazing that at this late stage of the game, where you got a Negro male, because I say there's no such thing as a black man on this planet. They're all black males because, an instinct of a man, no matter what race he is, the instinct of a man is to protect women, children, and the elderly. So clearly, he was protecting his phone. So because that was more important. Maybe he had some pictures of his buddy on the phone that he goes out late at night to do things with. But it is what it is. But clearly, he does not, the Negro that was there, trying to get a front row seat to assist you getting the beat down, his or elsing was to be a coward, to go ahead and look, that ain't got nothing to do with me. So clearly, what the white boy did, my thing is like, look, I expect an animal to do what it does. I expect a skunk to stink. I expect a snake to bite. And I expect a Neanderthal European to act as such. It is incredibly, totally, out of this world. Unfortunately, the way that I think in terms of us, like I said, is quite remarkable that I see that our folks, clearly see what's happening to us and are still thinking that it's not happening to us. Maybe it's cognitive dissonance on steroids. Who knows? But anyways, I'll pass the mic on that one, Brother Forecast.
Yeah, yo, that's all facts, MG2. Yo, that brother, he didn't even choose the or else. He knew better than to choose or else because he saw the sister get choose or else. But like, yo, that's not even funny though. But it's pretty sad. Like when you think about it, I'm laughing to keep from crying right now. But yo, that's the truth, MG2. And then when you see a sister like that getting beat up, they're gonna be like, yo, black woman is this and that. We gotta ask what she did and the whole man of spirit thing, and then the woman spirit thing, because we can't get into. But you know what? What's funny? Like, because I know we talk about other groups of people don't do that, which they absolutely do. You know what I'm saying? White dudes go at, especially those feminist white bitches, all the time. But when they see a black man and they can see a white feminist bitch who they might not even agree with calling you a nigga for 10 minutes straight, threatening to kill you, threatening to call the police, the minute you raise your voice, I bet you he step in. I bet you he won't let you punch a woman in the face. And not that you're gonna do that anyway, because those precious white women, you'll never lay hands on one of those creatures, what I'm saying, devil sent creatures. But anyway, MG2, let me go to the next thing. Yo, I don't know how much time you got because you said a lot of good stuff just now. I was gonna save this thing for the last thing, but you kind of mentioned it as far as like, and I want to get your opinion. I kind of wish Bakari was on here for this one too. So I'm gonna skip the last. I'm gonna skip the next thing I was gonna talk about and go to the last thing. But it's just like, yo, what you mentioned in your last thing, as far as like, with the consequences and all of this. I want you to see this video, Bakari. This is a Asian dude in, I think, Africa somewhere.
你看问题了，你给我看看，你看看，打电话，我跟你说好的，我也没给你动手。Get out, hey, out, get out. 你给我上面打电话。Out of this place, man. Out of this place. Out of this place. 你先动手啊！你他妈的再动手，我打死你！快！哎，来，hey.
I want y'all to imagine, right, yo, say China coming back to get those debts that of all those loans that they it was like, yo, I want you to give me like, this is this Asian dude, like, yo, I want that money back, yo, it's time to pay those debts. And then African like, yo, we ain't gonna pay you nothing. Now what you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? We keeping it or else, you know what I'm saying? Like you were saying, MG2, like, yo, this is our stuff. Now what you gonna do? You better get out of here or else. Even though this is definitely probably not, I would put money this is not the case, but
Get out. Hey, out. Get out. Out of this place, man. Out of this place. Out of this place. 你先动手啊！你他妈的再动手，我打死你！快！哎，来，hey. Leave him, he's on record. Hey. He's on record, leave him.
Man, if he don't take that pole out of his hand, then I ain't gonna say it.
He's on record.
There's one little Asian dude in surrounded by a bunch of Africans.
Don't worry.
One pole, and they done scattered like roaches.
He's on record. Don't worry. He's on record. Don't worry. He's on record for this. He's on record. He's on record. No. He has no right to stop him. We are on safety records. No, he has no right to stop him. The man is on safety. He has no right to stop him.
And you see this Asian dude try to come up like, yo, I'm a top Asian here, so you better listen to me. I'm coming over here with authority.
No. He has no right to stop him. We are on safety records. No, he has no right to stop him. The man is on safety. He has no right to stop him. Why? He has no right. No, he has no right to stop him. He was the one who left that place to come and stop the safety meeting. He has no right. Don't worry.
All right, now I'm pretty sure they was just fighting over like Asian, like who gets to build which Asian structure or whatever. But yo, what you think about that one, MG2? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even know you dropped off.
Yeah, that's okay. The thing is, Brother Forecast, is the fact that we allow others to get comfortable either in our homes, our cities, our neighborhoods, or even our countries, or even our continent. I expect this Chinaman, this rice eater, to do what he does. I expect it. If he didn't do it, I'd be scared because they're exploiters like anyone else. I find it I'm completely taken aback. It's total incredulity that we allow them to get so comfortable that he could be on our continent, in our countries, in our neighborhoods, amongst our family and friends, and present a threat with a pole, and the fact that he's still alive, and his so-called boss, the so-called head Chinaman, is still alive. I mean, to me, I think I'm quite amazed. I mean, it's almost like it's surreal. It's almost like it's a nightmare, no doubt about it. But it's like as if I'm not even awake. It's like a real bad dream. Again, I have to look at the mirror on this. And I always look at the mirror because it's like, look, if we don't want this stuff to happen to us, then it's very simple. Send his remains back to Beijing, as well as his so-called boss, and say, look, if we want a Chinaman here, we want you to construct one that looks like this or does this. Because clearly this model that you sent us is defective. Send him back, send his remains back on Amazon and say we want to return. If you want Chinamen so bad in Africa or even in black neighborhoods in the United States, and or whether they're the Vietnamese or something like that that are exploiting us, it's a very simple solution. Go ahead, make sure that if you burn the remains, it doesn't matter how it is. If you cut off their heads, it doesn't matter what you do. Send them back in a box, back to whether it's back to North Vietnam or back to Beijing or wherever, and say, look, this is a defective model agent. If you're going to send one into our communities, this is the model that we want to work. Clearly, because we don't want ourselves to go ahead and have our own industry. Therefore, we're going to allow them to exploit Africa. We'll allow them to exploit the hood. So clearly, if we're that bullheaded to have others exploit our communities, we might as well get the model that we want. A model that makes sure that every nickel that they get, they send us 95 cents out of every nickel they get, or out of every dollar they get. One that makes sure that feels uncomfortable in our neighborhoods. One that, it's amazing that we'll send back shoes that might have a scuff mark, or we'll send back a product that we got on Amazon because it might have been too short or maybe didn't work, or even some of us like to do it for a hustle. Why don't we do that to others that exploit our communities and our countries? Say, look, this East Indian, he's exploiting our neighborhood. He's selling this, or this Arab selling liquor. Send his remains. I'm not saying send him back whole. Send him back as the defective model he is. In other words, he's going to, he might not have a few limbs, but send it back to his country and say, we need a new model since we're not going to, develop for ourselves. It's just common sense. Brother Forecast. I mean, I know it sounds quite, it sounds quite facetious, but it's very real. If we are to not have these things happen, no matter what these instances are, the thing is if we don't look at ourselves first and say, look, something is happening that we need to solve a problem. We need to cure a certain problem. White boy running around saying, hey, I'll go ahead and kill more N-words. I'll stab them with needles or whatever it is. Okay, if we're not going to solve that problem, then we have to look at or find individuals who will solve that problem for us that are within our community. Whether they fight us on it, and many of them will, most of them are called Negroes. They'll fight us. No, you can't do that. How dare you do that? And they'll kumbaya or whatever. Well, therefore, they're part of that problem, and they must be removed from the equation as well. Anything that's in our way for our survival must be removed. If it's a peckerwood, clearly we know that's the case. If it's the little rice eaters out of China, that's clearly the case. If it's the taco eaters out of South America, doesn't matter. Our survival, then that problem must be removed. And especially, unfortunately, if that problem looks like us and we call it Negroes, black folks, or whatever, that in and of itself must be removed from the equation in order for us to make sure we have a safe, secure, and a productive future for all black folks that want one. So I'll pass the mic. Hopefully that helps you out there, Brother Forecast.
Yeah, definitely MG2. But that Asian, all he needed was a pole in the middle of Africa, surrounded by a bunch of Africans on the site, and surrounded by a nation full of Africans and a continent full of Africans. All he needed was a
Brother
pole.
Forecast, can I interrupt for 1 sec?
Yeah.
The biggest brouhaha right now in Azania, the place they call South Africa, is you had a cracker that pissed on. He's a Boer, an apartheidist that
I
pissed
saw that.
the books and everything of an African student, and those folks are crying out. Julius Malema and everyone else crying, "Oh, that's racist. He's got to be sent from the school." You have an almost all white / East Indian and Asian administration at that so-called school, which is named after a Boer, an apartheidist white boy. So the whole surreal apparatus of that in Azania just this last week, and they're still trying to cry racism. It's a very simple solution: kill the Kraken, the administration, and everything else. Change the name of the school. Problem solved. I'll go ahead and pass the mic.
Yo, and I was going to actually show that video too, MD2, but I was like, nah, I already took too long and I had too much stuff already. So I was like, nah. But yeah, the dude was like peeing on somebody's stuff and they crying about racism in the middle of Africa instead of them sending them out there at the very, and I'm going to say this, at the very least with a limp. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying with a limp. I'm saying that's at the very least. But yo, MD2, like, yo, that's the whole problem, at the end of the day, like they can come into the middle of this place. Now, I'm saying, imagine if we were saying like, yo, this is that country coming to us saying, yo, it's time for you to pay up that debt that we've been giving you. But this is them working on their infrastructure. This is not even on that level yet. You know what I'm saying? That's how far we are from the level, from the goal that we have to achieve. You know what I'm saying? And this is worldwide. I can find like, yo, even though I haven't been able to do the premieres, I can find a million videos all day, every day. And the fact that if I don't do it for a little while, I'll get backed up to where I'll never be able to talk about all of the people. And I don't talk about the cases where that could be controversial to the point. And sometimes I do, you know what I'm saying? Because we need to start talking about our gun rights and our ability to defend ourselves and the right to shoot back. But I don't really be talking about people who even break the law that much, you know what I'm saying? Most of the time, the cases and the premieres I talk about is people who is minding their own damn business. And the fact that I can never, ever cover all of the names, I could never cover all of the cases. I haven't even really got back past 2017 or 2016 with all of my premieres, except for like 1 or 2 cases. And that was a specific reason. And the fact that all of these bodies continue to add up and it's nothing that we do to help ourselves, like that's a sickness. Like I don't understand that part of it, but we can turn around and be so spooked out. And well, I would say this, I do have hope in ourselves. I do have hope in us, you know what I'm saying? And I got the rest of my life to keep going, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is, and I'll never stop. I'll never give up. But you know what I'm saying? We are at a point, and I asked you, MD2, I called you and asked you, like, what can you do to get Black people to stop hating each other's guts? And that's the like $1 million question. Is slavery wasn't enough? You mentioned Emmett Till, all of those cases. I talked about that young brother, George Steiny Jr. If y'all look up his case, the youngest person to ever be executed by the state in Texas, and they had to put him on the Bible. I mean, I talked about so many cases, and it's still casualty after casualty after casualty. And then if you say, and MD2 is a real one, you know what I'm saying? MD2 says it without even, I even use euphemisms or whatever you say that word, but MD2 just says it straight up, you know what I'm saying? MD2 is a real one. But how many times, how many cases, how many people does it take for you to say enough is enough? You know what I'm saying? And that's the sick part about it, you know what I'm saying? MD2, I got one more thing I want to share. It's like more positive. I want to leave on a positive note, so I'm glad I shared that one. But yo, that video on Africa, and I got to shout out to Erica for giving it to me, showing it to me. But yo, that's indicative. All of these videos are indicative of the case, and that's the problem. All of them. It's not even like rocket science. It's not rocket science. It's literally like first grade. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever you learn in first grade, and we fail first grade time and time again. And that's why I'd be like, yo, we going back to kindergarten, because we want to argue about ADOS versus Pan-African versus Black feminists versus, Black Christians versus, whatever ideology you can possibly think of. You know what I'm saying? But MGT, you want to say something before I go to the last thing?
Yeah, it was something that my mom taught me in the last few months, and it really hit me hard. And I heard you say the words "enough is enough," and she said, "No." She said, "No, no, no. There's no enough is enough." She says, "One is more than enough." It's like I have a certain threshold of how many of us going to get hurt, and then all of a sudden I have to react. No, she said, "Oh no. The fact that if they're dreaming of doing us harm, that's more than enough." And one of the things that Brother Forecast is,
I can give you a standing ovation.
man, I just got to be real. One of the things that I had to learn, and I was out and about today over at the Malcolm X Festival where we're at over here in Little Africa, and I saw Peckerwoods, and I'm sitting there talking on the public transport on the train, just talking, hey, oh yeah, this and that, but I don't care. Why? Because I'm not there to go ahead and get their acknowledgement, their acceptance, or anything else. Because I've come to a realization that, hey, I'm looking at them as if I'm looking at a squirrel, okay, or some other species. So therefore, what they say, what they do, or anything else means nothing to me. At the end of the day, I know that they must be removed from my existence. So therefore, we as African people could thrive. And a lot of us, we get emotionally caught up because we're trying to get others into our humanity, into our form of thinking. So therefore, we look at others like, how dare you do that? Or how could you do that? Or how could that Chinaman do that? No, I expect it. It's almost like looking at a duck. I don't expect the duck to go ahead and play chess. And if it does, I'm going to definitely start taking drugs and not stop because I don't take them. The thing I expect is for another species of two-legged individuals to do everything they can to hurt our species, our race, our people. So therefore, I could sit there, chat it up. I could sit there, talk about the weather, the sports. It doesn't matter what it is. My thing is like, look, at the end of the day, when I go and I walk, I know that is going to be something that I have to remove because it's going to be hostile to me because it is not of our species. It is not of our lineage. It's not of our African race. I know at the end of the day, its objective is to hurt us. No matter what it is, it's going to hurt me. So therefore, I know I don't care if I sit there and talk about sports. At the end of the day, I know in the front, not the back of my mind, in the front of my mind that thing is going to have to be removed, preferably now and not later. When we talk about black folks hating black folks, I stopped trying to get black folks to love black folks because black folks already love black folks. Chocolate melanated Europeans, i.e., that have the mindset and the spirit of Europeans inside them, yet they're covered with dark melanin. Those are not black folks. Those are not African. Those are basically a remixed form of a Caucasian. So therefore, if they don't like black folks, I understand that. So therefore, I'm not even going to attempt to try to get them, when there's the folks call it self-hate or whatever, I'm just looking at a Caucasian that literally has been out in the sun a little too long. So therefore, I'm like, Candace Owens, I'm not mad at you. Larry Elder, you got to do what you got to do. Matter of fact, I told him that one time when I talked to him. Jesse Lee Peterson, those are just Caucasians that were in the tanning salon a little bit too long. Maybe they should have gotten out just a little bit earlier and they could still remain like a Becky or a Brad. So therefore, those that don't have my objectives and my interest to keep Africans and black folks on this planet, I don't care. They're a different species. I'll pass the mic on that for you, the Brother Forecast.
Man, yo, that's all facts, MG2. That's all facts. And I'm gonna take something you said and use it as a segue. You know what I'm saying? Because y'all are really, really good at bringing up segues. Because you brought up I don't care if it's sports or whatever. Every aspect is the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and until you are in control of every single aspect, you are in the same situation. But first, you got to get control of the first aspect. And there's another thing, you know what I'm saying? I got to shout out to Bakari for his show earlier because he put me on to especially like the whole situation with Deion Sanders, you know what I'm saying, in the HBCUs. And he did a show earlier today talking about Deion Sanders, and I wanted him to come on and talk about it a little bit. But, I know he busy right now. So, MG2, let me show you this so we can go out on a positive note. This is Deion Sanders doing something. I played at the beginning. Deion Sanders song, Must Be the Money, you know what I'm saying? And let me show you this. So they are, of course, hating on Deion Sanders getting more black athletes to go to black schools, HBCUs. And here's Nick Saban, who is falling off in Alabama. If y'all notice, they haven't really been at the I don't really watch college football or whatever, but I know that Alabama has been quote unquote the #1 school or whatever. And now that the black athletes that they're taking advantage of are starting to go to HBCUs, now good old Nick Saban, who's making all this money, even though these black athletes is still poor and don't have anything, and their moms and families is at home struggling. Now he's starting to panic because Deion Sanders is pulling them to the HBCUs. So now he got hate for Deion Sanders. So let me play this.
We have a rule right now that says you cannot use name, image, and likeness to entice a player to come to your school. Hell, read about it in the paper. I mean, Jackson State paid a guy $1 million last year that was a really good Division I player to come to school. It was in the paper, and they bragged about it. Nobody did anything about it.
Now that's a straight lie. And they're talking about the he was the #1 prospect for the for college football, and Travis Hunter, and he went to HBCU, you know what I'm saying? So I had these 2 videos to show, but I'm gonna skip it because he's saying pretty much everything on this one. So I'm gonna show his response. I'm not playing the whole video, it's just his response to this particular thing.
Into it, Nick Saban came out, had some choice words saying that the Jackson State program paid $1 million to get a recruit there, talking about Travis Hunter. What is your response to that?
Well, first of all, we don't have $1 million. And if you've been to Jackson State and you understand how the program works, you understand there's a deficit not only in our program, but every program. And we're trying to close that deficit right now. We're doing a darn good job of it. Last year, we raised $30 million for the city of Jackson alone. That's what they told us. So I'm pretty sure we probably got 40 because they ain't tell us about 10 million of it. So we're doing a great job in what we're accomplishing in Jackson State. And we're changing the whole paradigm of HBCU football. And we're trying to be the catalyst and the model for all HBCUs on how to do business on the field, off the field, in the boardrooms, as well as all facets, even attracting these Fortune 500 companies to come into the realm and help us tremendously. But $1 million, I would never do that if we even had it, because that would destroy the fabric of our team. That would destroy all of my thought process and how I teach work, reward, work, reward. I teach work. You paying kids millions of dollars in college, how are they still hungry? I mean, how are they still hungry? How you pay a kid more than you pay coaches in college? So and Coach, now you're risking. I'm sorry, let me finish the statement. You're risking that line
integrity
of college football. Let me tell you what I mean by that. The media don't attack college players like they attack pro players. They don't do it because you're still an amateur. And they don't say certain things. You never see them blast a college quarterback or someone who, you never see that. When these guys start getting paid and you're making more than the reporters that's reporting and some of your coaches, that opens you up for scrutiny, man. These kids ain't built like that. They're not ready for that mentally and emotionally and psychologically. They ain't ready for that, man. And we're opening the can that they're not ready to minister to.
There, I don't know what you were making, but you're right there. You made the
decision
to leave and go to coach.
He said it ain't that.
Right? You went not only go leave and go coach, but you left to go to an HBCU, right? So that hit hard for me. So I guess my question for you is, break that down for me, that dynamic, when you talk about
that hit. I mean, that hit. Like when my son called me, first of all, when your child calls you, they know I go to sleep early, unless I'm on Netflix and, whatever. When he called me, I'm like, what's wrong? You all right? Yeah, Dad, you ain't hear what this dude said? I said, what are you talking about? And he sent me the article. I said, don't worry about it. I got it. I have it. And just that quickly, God gave me words to spit out because I had to respond real quick to let them know I'm going to respond. Don't worry about it. I'm going to respond. And the conclusion of the tweet that I put out was, we don't have to pay our people to play with our people. It was something to that extent, but it was crafty. It was keen. And I said, okay, I got the attention, but I got it, because you never want to make a declaration or give a response based on emotions. You always want to bring it down. No matter what, especially in relationships, bring it down.
I love
Okay,
it. Teacher.
we go with a sound mind and sit back and relax and just think it through. So once I thought it through, I said, you know what? I don't want to just hit play and spit. I don't want to do that. That's too easy. Let me sit down with one of my guys, Jean-Jacques Taylor, who is a journalist who writes for Sports Illustrated as well as ESPN, the magazine, and he's done several stories, and he's been down with me ever since we did. I'm a thinker, my man, Brandon. I'm a thinker. You're a thinker. You guys are thinkers. Like, I'm a critical thinker. That thing wasn't about me. When I look through the smoke and through the fire, Coach Saban used me and used Jimbo Fisher as pawns in his plea for help from his boosters and his donors. We were just pawns. So now he was really going at his people to up the ante so that he could outdo Coach Fisher.
Right.
Now, they just threw me in the fire because of what we accomplished in recruiting last year with Kevin Coleman and Travis and some others. They just threw us in the fire because he was the spokesman for all SEC and he was the spokesman for all the Power Fives and the PWIs by saying, hey, y'all, we can't let that happen again now. All right. I'm going to go out on a limb.
Can't let these Negroes get these Negro players.
Man, I know what he was trying to do. I saw through the bull jump. I really did.
Right. So I'm
too old.
No, you can't. You got it. You a thinker.
I can't remember. In there screaming, hollering, and yelling, and shouting, and you never seen nothing like it because you've never getting him on campus and bringing him to an HBCU game and a game of that magnitude where we got 60,000 of yo people in there screaming, hollering, and yelling, and shouting, and you never seen nothing like it because you've never seen that many people. You can fathom. Y'all can't fathom seeing 60,000 man of your people on one accord. I mean, having a good time. Ain't nobody going to jail. Ain't nobody tripping. Ain't nobody doing no crazy. Ain't nobody shooting. Ain't nobody robbing. Ain't nobody stealing. We all out there for one plausible cause. That was a beautiful thing. And we won. Right. And he got to see a guy that he looked up to in his element, living in his purpose. I was in my bag. Pre-game speech, post-game, doing the game. I'm in my bag. I'm doing what God has blessed me to do. And you see that at that level. And you saying, dang, I never fathomed that this could be like that. Now the door is open and the gate is open. And we talk to mama. And see, one of those other schools made we kept it straight. We ain't trying to buy you. We ain't trying to solicit you. We ain't trying to do none of that. And they didn't want to be bought anyway. They don't even get down like that. So we got and Travis wanted to learn from me, man. He really wanted. When we do one-on-ones right now, Travis said, Coach, can you come over? I said,
so Cody, first
really
of all,
that was kind of forced.
I was like, did Nick Saban really reach out to you? And two,
yeah, he did. He did.
Okay.
He reached out to my people. He didn't reach out to me because he don't have myself. He reached out to my people for certain. He did.
Okay. Will you sit down and talk with him?
Let me tell you how I get down. If you go at me in public, we got to deal with it in public. Don't go at me in public and try to solve it in private. We can't do that. Let's come on a forum publicly and deal with it publicly. I don't do that. I'm not finna shine on you, both Brandon, in public, then come to you private and say, hey, fellas, man, you know, I'm bad, man. When I was on IM athlete ready for that, I was tripping. You know, I was tripping, man. But no, man. No. You showed out publicly. We got to deal with it publicly. We can't do it no other way. That ain't right. That ain't cold.
All right, so yeah, MG2. I don't know if you aware of what's going on with Deion Sanders and stuff like that, but you got any comments on that?
Yeah, I saw Brother Bakari's live stream. It was phenomenal. And I was listening to it earlier today, and I have to ask myself this question. First off, I got to commend Deion Sanders because he's very patient. And I would like to see him be supported, just like I want to see the folks in Loudoun County be supported by Black folks for our interest. But I had to ask myself, I wonder if Nick Saban, that devil, was not talking to Coach Deion Sanders, but Coach Marshawn Lynch. Because I think it would have been a lot less of a conversation if it was Marshawn Lynch. he would have said, "You can kiss my black, you know what?" I mean, and then it would have been that, you know, the conversation would be over. I think it would have been a lot less of words coming from Marshawn Lynch. So I think that Nick Saban got off kind of easy. Matter of fact, I think Deion Sanders kind of was very gracious in the way he told him what he can do to himself. You know, like he could, you know, where the sun don't shine. But I would like to see, you know, him say something like that to like a young Marshawn Lynch. And you know, I think that would be very TMZ worthy. And I think ESPN and Stephen A. Smith would have a field day with it, because I think it would be very quick, maybe a one sentence conversation that I don't think that could be repeated on live TV. But anyways, I'll go ahead and pass the mic.
No, yeah, that's very perceptive, MD2, because you know, I try to skip around and try to hide Deion Sanders making excuses and stuff like that, and hide his, you know, the all lives matter aspect of it, because he did stand up for black people and HBCUs, and he is doing something that could be great for us if we use it in the right way, you know what I'm saying? But ultimately, you know, even with the HBCUs, we got to get in charge of our own curriculums. Like, we can't even teach, they probably don't even teach the quote unquote critical race theory there. And I named my titles critical theory, you know, as it's a little bit of trolling in it, but you know, at the end of the day, like, yo, these are critical theories as far as us as a group of people that we have to start embracing. Now, we can look at it as two aspects. All the videos I shared, number one is what's coming to us, because that's a fact. That's all of this stuff is coming to us. MD2 has told you that the war was going to happen in Ukraine before I even heard, like, you know, those right-wing pundits that be on the radio. MD2 was saying this a long time ago. So what's coming to you is coming to you, no matter what you do. Now, number two is how you can handle it. The other way you can look at it, this could be your response to what's coming towards you. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be one-sided, because they have declared war on you 600 years ago, and they have done nothing but maintain that position this whole time. And for the last 600 years, you said, you know, I'm going to open my arms, embrace the pale man. You know what I'm saying? There's only a few. All lives matter. Only some. We can't kill all of the you know, Haiti said, don't kill the Germans and the other people who's here, the women and children, only the slave owners, to turn around and see that very thing bring you down time and time again. But then when you come to black people, I can't work with you because you believe this. I can't work with you because you have this tribe. I can't work with you because you have a penis or you have a vagina. You know what I'm saying? I can't work with you for whatever reason. At this point, it's nothing but excuses. You know what I'm saying? And I show you this, and yeah, you might get mad and all of this stuff for the stuff that I show you. Some people say I'm complaining and we're trauma bonding. Some people are with it, but at the end of the day, both sides is full of it if you're not down to make a change, to do something that is trying to help somebody. You know, when MD2 does his lives, not only does he give pertinent information, not only does he tell us how to use the war in Russia to our benefit, you know what I'm saying, that is going to come, but he also tells you what stocks to invest in, how to play the stock market, something that can benefit you. But if you're doing nothing but coming on telling me or anybody else why not to follow some other black person, as opposed to give them something to follow, because how are you ever going to get somebody to follow you if you can't even feed them? If you're not offering something, I can't tell somebody not to go to church if I don't offer them some kind of equal thing in that place to whatever. So then we turn around and complain at what black people not following me because I have, but meanwhile, I haven't given them nothing to follow. It's a whole sick mindset. And you take these videos and learn and take it for, number one, practice your second amendment right. Number two, all of this stuff is coming to you. You see, there's no baby formula in the store right now. You know what I'm saying? Whether they can control whether baby formula, and it's ironic. I used to think that, you know, I know not every woman, but I used to think babies used to have, use their mother or whatever. And I'll just say that for food, but apparently you have to have baby formula. But that's neither here nor there. But it's not in the stores right now. and they're talking about ammo shortage, and then, you know, a lot of bullets come from Russia and stuff, but you can make your own bullets, but we don't do that, so we can't say that. But we can, you know what I'm saying? We can, but we don't. So until we do that, then the same things is going to happen time and time again, you know what I'm saying? And all we can do is be spectators on the sideline. And I will say this, you know what I'm saying, before I pass it to MG2 to close out, you know what I'm saying? Yo, a lot of black people, we might think this is a game, you know what I'm saying? I don't even think we do think it's a game, because we would be better off if we thought it was a game, because then we may play to win. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what we think this is, but we don't take it seriously. You know what I'm saying? Even if you don't take it seriously, think of it as a game, and as a game that you can win and that you have to win, because you're losing. If you don't win, you lose. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I was trying to explain, as far as like, yo, you either succeed or you fail. There's no C grade in the, there's A or F. You win, you lose, you eat, you don't eat, you live, you die. That's all it is. You know what I'm saying? This is the real world. Wake up, stop being spooked out. You know what I'm saying? But I'm sorry, MG2, my good brother. Yo, thank you for coming on, my good brother. Yo, please take your time and you know, say everything you want to say.
Yeah, there's three things that my dad taught me before he passed. And hopefully Deion Sanders. See, Deion Sanders is he's about the same age as my baby brother. And so I don't expect him to get this, but this is something that took me years to actually develop. And when my dad told me this, it kind of hit me like a rocket. He said, one, never explain yourself to anybody, especially your enemy. Number two, never wait for anyone. Don't wait for what they're going to do for you. Don't wait for anything. Number three, never expect anything from anyone that you can't, that you wouldn't expect from yourself, and don't ever expect that you're going to get anything from anyone before they go ahead and do something for themselves. And when he told me that, it kind of hit me, and I was thinking of Deion Sanders. But again, he's the same age as my baby brother, so I can understand he's probably not there yet. That's why I had to bring up with Marshawn Lynch. I always like to give folks a takeaway. What I mean by a takeaway, of course, is something they could take away and actually use after I talk to them. Whether it's a live stream, whether it's a conversation, something they can take away and say, wait a minute, I could use that. And shoot, they might be, you know, richer than Jeff Bezos. Hopefully I've given them something they could take away, whether it's a technique in the markets, or whether it's how to do something in music, whether it's how to do something in architect, whether it's something how to do as an idea that they can use for their business. It doesn't matter. And as a takeaway, I like to tell black folks, so those three things my dad taught me. You could tell the difference between black folks that just don't care because they care too much about black folks' interests. When I say they don't care about anything that's external, that anything that's or I should say they don't care about solving the external problems that don't have anything to do about black folks internally. They don't care what Russians think, what Peckerwoods think, what Asians think are doing. They don't care about these Mexicans. They don't care about anything else. They care about the internal aspects of making sure black folks are okay, and what will we do to make sure that we will always be okay. So they don't care about, well, those folks do this to us, or they think that way, or they're using that money for whatever. No, that's them. Real black folks don't. Now, those that are not necessarily of this African mindset are always wondering what other folks do. They're always waiting for what those other folks are going to do, and they're always expecting those other folks to either, to consider them, for lack of a better term. I don't expect any non-African to consider me. Okay, and when I say Africa, I'm talking black folks. Negroes are part of those that I know that I don't expect Negroes are like whites or anyone else. I don't expect them to have our interests. Black folks, I expect to have our interests. Africans, I expect to have our interests. I don't wait on Peckerwoods, Asian, or even Negroes to do something, or waiting on what they're going to do or say before I do things for myself. And I definitely will never explain myself to any one of them. In other words, when I say I'm a black identity extremist, and the reason I say that is because, and that term came from a cracker, Jeff Sessions, the former so-called secretary of whatever it was under Trump's term. He said, black folks that are terrorists are black identity extremists. We must be scared of them. Now, I didn't know that term existed, but it scared him, so damn it, call me that. Okay, if it makes him not sleep good at night, you could call me whatever you want. Okay, if it's the Great Pumpkin, you could call me that. I don't care whatever makes my enemy scared. Call me. He could call me, he could call me Bart Simpson. If he does not get sleep that night, and he's looking at me thinking Bart Simpson's going to blow up his house, damn it, I caramba. Whatever makes them scared, sign me up. The thing is that and the reason I said that is because I started thinking about Deion Sanders. See, I have Brother Forecast is a very selective hearing, and it took decades and decades and decades to have this selective hearing, and it almost 6 decades in order to get it. And what I mean by that is, I don't know if you've ever saw those old Charlie Brown, the little cartoons with they had the one A Good Christmas Charlie Brown and whatever. I have what I call a Charlie Brown filters in my ears. So whenever somebody's telling me something, like with Marshawn Lynch, just like myself or somebody else, when what's his name? I can't remember the Peckerwood's name, whatever it was, who was talking, about why, this $1 million, in other words, they're paying these folks to play for it. I wouldn't even have heard that. I would have had the same type of hearing that Charlie Brown. When they talk and they want to do something that is not in my realm, all I hear is wah, 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 wah. So when a Peckerwood is talking to me, trying to, if it's not something I can use, especially if they're trying to do something that's disparaging, all I hear is wah, 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 wah. Now, hopefully Deion Sanders could have that kind of hearing. I'm pretty sure Marshawn Lynch has that kind, or at least I remember at a time, he had those type of filters. Maybe it's a hearing problem. But whenever my enemy is trying to get me to explain myself, that's all I hear. I don't hear any language. All I hear is wah, 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 wah. And therefore, I just nod my head because I know that they're speaking a language I don't understand. Because clearly it's not a language that I can use for African survival. Hopefully, as a takeaway, all the black folks, real black folks that are on here, maybe we should start as a homework assignment, watch all those old Charlie Brown cartoons so we could develop that type of hearing when our enemy is approaching us. When they can call me the N word, they can do whatever it is. I don't care because I don't really know what they're saying because it sounds like a muted trombone or a trumpet. So therefore, they look at me and I'm looking at them like my eyes are like I'm looking at a wall or something because I don't talk to walls. Hopefully, as a takeaway, I always like to give black folks a takeaway. In order for us to care about ourselves more, is to stop caring about caring what other folks care about us. In other words, concentrate on self. Anything that's outside of the self, and I'm talking about black folks, is immaterial unless we could use it as a weapon and a tool to build and conquer for ourselves, and a weapon to destroy anything that's in our way. Hopefully that's a good takeaway for you there, Brother Forecast. And I thank you so tremendously for allowing me to talk. And I got to say for everyone, Hotep.
Yeah, MG2, that's the truth, stop giving But yo, MG2, I gotta thank you, my brother. Like, yo, you the truth. Like, I appreciate you for coming on. I appreciate everybody who was listening, who stayed in. I know a lot of people are in comment. I think that's a good thing, MG2. They was agreeing with what we said tonight. So so I appreciate that. I know it's Malcolm X weekend, so I'm gonna let Malcolm X take us out. Well, not take us out, but I'm gonna let Malcolm X speak before I That I was mute the whole time. I ain't even mean to be mute the whole time. I'm sorry. Damn, my bad.
If white immigrants can come to this country 50 years ago with nickels and dimes and no education, and come here and pool their little nickels and dimes and no education, and set up little stores, develop these stores into larger stores, develop this into an industry which creates job opportunities for whites. Since Lincoln was supposed to have freed the black man 100 years ago, and today the black man, according to the government economist, has spending power of $20 billion per year. We feel that with the black man spending $20 billion a year, not setting up any businesses, not creating any industry, not creating any job opportunities for his own kind, he's not in a moral position to point the finger today at the white man and tell the white man that he's discriminating against him for not giving him a job in factories that he himself set up. If the black man has $20 billion, and these so-called Negro leaders are such geniuses that they can integrate white restaurants and integrate white factories and force themselves into that which the white man has set up, they should use this same ingenuity to show the black people how to pool our wealth and set up something of our own. And then we won't have to force our way into his anymore.
What price are you talking about, sir? No Negro leaders have fought for civil rights. What do you mean? They have begged for civil rights. They have begged the white man for civil rights. They have begged the white man for freedom. And anytime you beg another man to set you free, you will never be free. Freedom is something that you have to do for yourselves. And until the American Negro lets the white man know that we are really, really ready and willing to pay the price that is necessary for freedom, our people will always be walking around here second-class citizens, or what you call 20th century slaves. What price are you talking about, sir? The price of freedom is death.
Yo, that's a fact, Malcolm X. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to my good brother MG2, my brother Sling Nocturna Seymour, my good brother Rasheed Holmes, my sister Raw Guy, Micah, Kayshawn, Erica, Bakari, everybody. Shout out to everybody. I appreciate y'all for coming on here. And like Malcolm X said, he said it, 70 years ago. If they can come, if white immigrants can come here and pull their little pennies together, and build an economic structure for themselves, then we as a people have to do that. Not only do we not have a choice, right? Because we see what happens time and time again. We don't have a choice. But we should want to be able to do that. We should want to be able to depend on ourselves for every single aspect of our lives. We should be pissed off that everybody can come in and take our culture and, degrade it and whatever and sell it back to us. We should be pissed off that our parents don't have the proper health, that they're dying of like diabetes at young ages. 60 is a young age. 70 is a young age. We should be pissed at all of this stuff. And we not mad enough. Nothing has been enough. But at the end of the day, we are all we got. They say a rivalry doesn't start until, both sides beat each other. And so far, we have suffered so many L's, and I'm tired of us suffering casualties. My goal is to never suffer another casualty. But if our blood is being shed anyway, what else do we have to lose? Can you tell me what you have to lose? You don't have your language. You don't have your knowledge of your ancestors. You don't have the knowledge of your traditions. You don't have nothing. The knowledge of your God. I know some of you may feel like you do, but that's neither here nor there. But I appreciate all of y'all listening. And at the end of the day, man, start getting prepared. You know what I'm saying? Go every time you go to the store, buy extra canned goods. You know what I'm saying? As many as you can, even if it's one. You know what I'm saying? Try to get 2 or 3 extra cans of canned goods. Try to go out to the store and stock up on ammunition, because it's going to be a shortage coming up. You know what I'm saying? Go out there and buy extra toilet paper every time you go to the grocery store. Do what you have to do. You see gas is like, you know what I'm saying, damn near $5 right now. And you really think that world events have no impact on us? What we don't have is an impact on world events. The world events have an impact on us. Until we start changing that and we have the impact on the world events and how things play out and the cost of gas, because guess what? Those natural resources come from wherever the hell you think you come from. But anyway, man, thank y'all for tuning in. I've been on here for way too long anyway, but I appreciate all of y'all. And as always, man, we have got to start standing for something, or we're gonna keep falling for anything.